It's time to reset my goals for the next 2 weeks. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome for the first time. I'm Valerie. I'm an author and an avid reader. Here on this channel, I share parts of my creative life to help inspire yours. In terms of creativity, August is actually a slow month for me. I tend to not have as many creative ideas or as much creative energy as some of the other months, especially like the fall and winter months. I'm just going to fold a little laundry while I chat with you. And I think it is important to acknowledge as creators that there are seasons in our lives. Seasons where we are working really hard on our projects, and then there are seasons where we just don't want to. Where we want to take a break, maybe we want to go outside, we want to play, we want to rest, we want to explore different avenues, other creative aspects of our life. Almost every year, without fail, August is that month for me. That month where I just really don't want to work on anything. I think this is very normal. I want to make a point of saying that it is okay to not want to work on your passion projects, on your creative projects, on your books that you've been dreaming of and working on and striving to finish. It is okay to take breaks from these things. That being said, sometimes I can get in my head about not moving in the direction of my goals. I think that being creative really helps keep me centered and keeps me grounded, and so when I'm not working on a creative project, I really don't feel like myself. But I also need to respect my regular creative rhythm and the seasons that I go through. Summer, I spend a lot of time outside, contrary to what this video is showing you right now. And I think that getting outside and honoring your body and your seasons is important in a creative life. And so the goals that I'm going to be setting for the next 2 weeks, they will be related to writing, but they're not going to be actual like word count goals or like finish a story or finish a book or anything like that. They are going to be centered around future thinking, around the idea that in September, October, I'm going to start getting antsy. I'm going to want to start working on a bigger project. And right now I'm feeling very undecided about what to work on next. I have 3 different projects that I am eyeballing. They're all in various stages of drafting. And I just really need to get a handle on what the heck I'm doing with the next few months to years. So that's kind of a bigger discussion, and one that I think I will be having with you in these vlogs. But for right now, I want to get some cozy goals set up for the next 2 weeks that will prepare me for the future. I have been setting what I'm calling cozy goals for most of the summer, and these goals are small, they are very achievable, they are basically the bare minimum of what you think you can accomplish in a certain set of time. For me, that is 2 weeks. Now, in this case, because it's August and I have a lot of outdoorsy stuff going on, I took a look at my calendar and I really don't have a lot of extra time, but that's okay because, like I said, August is a bit of a slow month for me in terms of creativity, so I am fine setting very small goals for myself. What are those goals going to look like? One of the things that I've been finding this summer is that I'm just very interested in short stories again. It's been like 10 years since I was really interested in them, but like this summer is the summer that I'm just very interested in reading and writing and exploring the idea of short stories. One of the goals that I'm going to set for myself for the next 2 weeks is to come up with 10 new short story ideas. You may be thinking to yourself, Valerie, that doesn't sound very cozy. That sounds pretty ambitious. And you are right, except for the fact that I have 5 ideas already. And they are not developed ideas. So I think that's the key here. What I am talking about is 10 sparks of an idea, 10 jumping off places. That is one cozy goal. I'm halfway there, and we have just started. The next cozy goal, kind of related to that one, is that I think I would like to outline, I want to say 3 or 4, but like if we're thinking bare minimum, like what I know that I will be able to accomplish in 2 weeks, I'm gonna say 2. 2 of those ideas I want to have a more fleshed out outline for so that I could start writing them if I wanted to in the next 2-week session. Let me write this down. 10 short story ideas, aka sparks of ideas. Short stories outlined. I just kind of want to have an idea of the main character, where we're going to kick the story off at, and where we're going to end it, like that little twist that you always kind of see at the end of short stories. What's kind of neat is this in progress section. This is the 10 short story ideas, and I already have them in progress. And then that's the 2 short stories outlined. For right now, I'm just gonna leave myself those 2 cozy goals. And I think that's gonna be it. Sounds like very little work, like I would get it done tomorrow. Except I'm going to the lake tomorrow, so I'm not gonna get it done tomorrow. Of my writing career, I have gotten the question a lot of where do your ideas come from? What do you do to come up with your story ideas? Just kind of those kind of typical questions of where do ideas come from? And I feel like that's a hard question to answer because I know that behind the question, I think there's another question of how can I get those ideas? And I think telling someone where I get my ideas or how I do idea generation is a lot different than instructing them on how to do it. We all kind of come to our stories in many different ways. My best ideas come from a little combination of paying attention to what's going on around me, consuming art, whether it's books, stories, movies, visual art, music, other types of media, and then asking the question, what if? What if we took this thing and put it with this thing? What if this thing turned out to be something else? What if this person did this instead? Just kind of following what I call rabbit trails from the spark of an idea to something bigger, something that can hold its shape as a novel or as a short story. I know when a story idea is something more than just like, hey, that would be interesting. If I feel it in my gut, like at the base of my breastbone, right here is where I feel it. I feel kind of like, hey, now that's interesting. Maybe I try to pair it with something else that I found interesting to see kind of what comes up. One of the story sparks that I came up with this week that I jotted down, it doesn't make sense to me right now. I have no idea if this is going to turn into a story, but the idea came about because I saw a group of people rollerblading very quickly down the street. I was out walking my dog and these 4 people were rollerblading, just like this gang of rollerbladers. And I was like, huh, that's funny. And then I was thinking about how during the pandemic people started doing a lot of roller skating. And then I was thinking about the Chappell Roan song, Pink Pony Club. So I wrote down rollerblading plus Pink Pony Club. I don't know where that's gonna go. It's just the feelings right now. It's just the vibes. It's just like, hey, that was interesting and weird. I wonder if that would pair well with this other thing. It's not necessarily just building the idea from that one spark. It's kind of the building blocks of several different spark ideas together, twisting them around, kind of holding them up to the light, seeing the kaleidoscope of color, and finding something that sinks into your writer soul, something that excites you, something that lights you up and makes you want to hurriedly put words down on paper. Like writing, idea generation is a practice. Set aside a time every day, go to new places, grab some photo book off the library shelf, flip through it, get quiet, and listen to your intuition. Listen to that feeling in your gut that's telling you, oh, that's interesting. Write that down, keep it on one list if you want, or keep several note cards, and then just try to pair the things together and see, again, where your intuition, where your gut is saying, oh, now that's really interesting. I spent about an hour this morning at my writing desk fleshing out one of the short story ideas that I came up with while we were out in the backcountry camping. We were in this very lovely wooded area. The 3 of us were just kind of tired. We were not doing a lot of talking, and so my brain had a lot of time to just kind of wander and reminisce and think about things. And I was thinking about these picnics that I used to take with my family. We would go hiking a lot in the woods, and usually just a day hike, and then we would come out and they would have these like little day area, these like picnic tables next to the parking lot, and we would always kind of have a picnic. And then I started to think about like strange picnics, things that would make a picnic not a picnic. I was trying to think of kind of a twist to give readers at the end of this picnic experience where you go in thinking you're going to be experiencing a picnic, a regular picnic with a family, and then something happens. So that's what I worked on today for about an hour. I was doing a lot of thinking about the characters because originally I was thinking about having two best friends being at this picnic, and then I was like, where's the conflict? I think there's a little bit more fleshing out, a little bit more outlining that I want to do before I feel like I could commit to sitting down and writing it. I think I have 9 spark ideas for short stories, and so I feel like I'm making pretty good progress on my cozy goals that I set up for myself for the next 2 weeks. We are already almost at the end of week 1. It is Thursday. Can't quite believe that. I did spend several days in the wilderness just fully enjoying myself, enjoying moving my body, enjoying the wildflowers, the views. The place that we were backpacking at is absolutely stunning, just enchanted. But now I'm back and working on writing again, working at my office job again, trying to get my regular life back into order. I am fully obsessed with this book at the moment, A Letter to the Luminous Deep by Sylvie Cattrall. I'm only 26 pages in. First of all, this cover, gorgeous. This is just one of those weird books that is really sinking its tentacles into me. A woman is living on her own in a house under the sea. She seems to be a bit of an introvert, a bit of a socially anxious, undone kind of person. She is watching out her window one day and sees a rather strange fish and decides to write to a scholar up at land level, the landlubber scholar, and say, hey, I saw this weird fish. Do you know anything about this? And they strike up a relationship through letters. There is definitely some science fiction, weirdness, strangeness. I don't really feel like I'm on planet Earth, and I am absolutely okay with that right now. So that is the book that I am currently reading, that I am loving. I hope that I continue to love it. It seems like the kind of book that I would continue to love. Do you guys like epistolary novels? What is your favorite novel that has been written in letters? Heart-to-heart chat with my husband yesterday. We were talking about my writing business, about the trajectory of my career, and he actually gave me a little bit of advice that I am currently taking to heart. I'm doing some deep soul searching about it. Basically, I am at this place where I am working a full-time office job, but I still want to pursue my creative passions. I still want to try and build a creative business, and I want to continue looking for new opportunities. No one is out there handing me checks just saying, sit down and write, Valerie. We don't want you to do anything else but write. That would be nice. I would like that. I have been in a very privileged position where I have been able to write full-time for several years, and I am now kind of feeling like I'm on my back foot again. Is that a saying that makes sense? Like, I feel a little bit like I've slipped down the mountain and I'm trying to scramble my way back up, and I don't really know the best way to do that. I do feel like there is still a lot of time in my creative career. There's a lot of time in my life where I can kind of chase down new ideas and chase down new opportunities. But this may be the season where I need to go a lot slower than I normally have. I think one of the things that I've been struggling with is this moving from writing full-time to writing part-time and having a full-time job. My responsibility primarily is to the company that I am working for, that I have agreed to work for in exchange for a paycheck. That is kind of the priority of my day-to-day. As frustrating as that can feel sometimes, it's the truth, it's what's happening. And so coming to terms with the idea that I just don't have as much time and energy to work on all of the fun things that I want to work on has been difficult. So when I was talking to my husband yesterday and I was like, hey, okay, what if I tried this, and this? He's like, hey, why don't you slow down? How dare you, sir? And he said it in a way that kind of hit home for me in terms of, why am I trying to do so much right now, pushing myself to burnout? One of the reasons I returned to corporate America was to have that support so that I didn't feel like I had to frantically spin my wheels trying to make my art make money. I could kind of allow the regular paycheck to support the slowness of writing, to support the finding your way through a story and the time that it takes to write a novel. Sometimes I think like I'm doing something wrong, not writing faster, like not writing to market. I don't know if in this creative business, in this creative life, if there is a wrong path. There are just choices that I make based on the information I have and the person I am in that moment. And right now, the person I am in this moment is someone with a day job. Someone with an office job, a 9-to-5 office job that takes time and energy. I'm someone who is trying to take care of her health, who wants to exercise on a regular basis. I'm someone who has community that she wants to continue engaging with, and friends that she wants to spend time with, and family who she loves, and books. Lord, the books that I have to read. And trying to cram in all this extra stuff right now just doesn't feel like a smart idea. It doesn't feel like the way to go, but I still want to do it because life is so short. I just keep running into this idea of like life is short, and I don't want to like limit myself if I don't have to. These are hard conversations to have, hard things to think about, hard things to reflect on, and I think I'm going to need a little bit more time. But ultimately what my husband was trying to say was that, hey, maybe there are some things in my life that I'm trying to do right now that I could take out and just like focus solely on writing and finishing novels, writing and finishing drafts. I told him I don't want years to go by again without me publishing another book, and he's like, no, you can still, look for a new agent or publish them yourself, but don't add on other projects, don't add on freelancing projects or gig work. He's pointing out that I don't really like the hustle culture. I don't like hustle lifestyle, and yet here I am thinking to myself, like, how much more can I add into my life to try and get this business profitable? I believe in myself, and I believe in my work ethic. I believe in my stories, and I believe that the books that I write will find readers. They already have. I've already proven that to myself. In this time that I have left in August, since I am not a very creative person in August anyway, I think that the best use of my time right now would be to tie up some loose ends on some things that I just kind of have floating out there, reacquaint myself with a book that I put on pause a few months ago, and just start to prepare to get into a creative space this fall so that I can really just buckle down and focus on finishing the next book that I would like to see published. Whether I go the traditional publishing route or the self-publishing route, I haven't quite decided yet. I think I need to press pause on some of these extracurricular things, some of these other things that I'm kind of feeling like are very fun, but don't necessarily lead towards my bigger goal. Some of the stuff that I can get rid of is just like the mental load of trying to figure out what to do next, what's coming next, what's my next move. I think that if I spend some time for the rest of August thinking big picture, see if that helps me focus in on short-term goal setting so that I'm not so frantic, not throwing everything against the wall trying to see what sticks. I don't have time for that right now. I don't have the energy for that the way that I used to when I was writing full-time, and I could kind of go off on all these little tangents and do all these other little things and chase my whims. I still want to chase whims. I just think maybe I need to chase them in a more energy efficient way. Creativity is not efficient. I will never get on board with the idea of efficient creativity. However, I think I can conserve energy by changing a few of my habits. So what does that mean for my cozy goals that I set for myself a week ago? Do I still want to continue working on these short story ideas? Is that going to further my long-term goals? I don't know right now. I did get 10 story spark ideas, so that's super. I'm not mad about that. I did outline one of the short story ideas, and I did start writing it this morning, and I think I'm gonna love it. But I don't think I'm gonna outline a second one. I don't think that's gonna be a priority for me. I think the priority is gonna shift into reevaluating my goals, writing out kind of all the little tasks that I have kind of open-ended and seeing if I can get those tied up, reacquainting myself with my novel that I want to start working on in the fall, and then just kind of working backwards from that long-term goal to try and set myself up for success when I do start fully working on my next novel in September. yeah, I feel like I'm at this kind of crossroads right now. Wow, could I be any more dramatic? It's not a crossroads. It is simply a season in my life to really sit and think and do some hard work, cut away what I don't need in my life, and really focus in on the 1 to 2 creative projects that have the most meaning to me and have the most potential profitability in the future. And it's gonna be a slow progression. Just really believe in this idea of like second chances and this idea of grit and perseverance. Honestly though, if at the end of the day, I don't get my business back up and running, if I'm not profitable, if I'm not making money from my art, that's okay. If I'm still making art and that art is making me happy, I did good. I think my goal for this weekend is to be less focused on the cozy goals that I set up last week and just really focused on writing out all the little things that are careening around in my brain, all the little things that I want to try and get done, the things that are half finished, the things that I have been pondering, the things that I've promised other people that I would do. I kind of want to clear all that away for over the next month, clear space, clear out time, and rediscover some new pockets of energy, some new pockets of time throughout the day. I can move this one, 10 short story ideas. That's done. So that's going to the done, completed section. So I think my focus for this weekend is going to, 1, be working on that short story that I started this morning because I love it and I want to finish it. 2, start brainstorming all the things I want to try and finish before like the middle of September. It doesn't have to be the beginning of September. We can set a 30-day goal for that. I'm going to check in with you a little bit later this weekend and let you know kind of how it's all going and how I'm feeling and kind of what I've decided and how long my checklist is and if I've absolutely just decided to throw in all the towels, move into the woods, and live with a hedgehog. I wrote almost 1,000 words this morning. I wrote 990. I know I probably should have just gone ahead and done the other 10 words, but like my timer went off and I was getting hungry for breakfast, and so I just decided to go ahead and stop at 990, which is actually like a super good number for me. Typically what I've been doing in the mornings is closer to like 300 to 600, so I'm really happy with an almost 1,000 word day. I am working on that strange picnic short story. Yesterday I finished the first scene, and today I started working on the last scene of the story. I don't normally do that. I normally write things in chronological order, but for me, the last scene was calling out to me, and I kind of wanted to know how this story was going to end before I put in all the middle pieces together. I don't know if I'm going to find a home for it in a literary magazine or if I'm going to just publish it on my newsletter, but it has been really good practice for me in terms of reconnecting with this creative part of myself that I haven't connected with in a long time. I think that I've spent so many of the past few years working on novels that I have forgotten the elegance of a short story, the way that you really have to lean in and trust your reader to understand that there are bigger things happening beyond this story, to kind of pick up on the cues. I think when I'm working on novels, I tend to overwrite. I tend to want to give the reader everything to kind of spoon feed them, and you just don't have time to do that in a short story. And so it's been really good practice reconnecting with those skills of trusting the reader and recognizing that sometimes the things that go unsaid in a story are in fact the most powerful. So I'm really enjoying working on that story, and I am hoping to finish it in the next couple days or weeks. I want to get this done and kind of come up with a plan for it before September. I am still working through reevaluating my goals and doing some more exploration in terms of long-term and short-term goals and how I use my time. I will be sharing more about all of that soon, but for today, I am just feeling so good about getting such a large chunk of creative time in this morning. I was watching a YouTube video yesterday while I was at the gym, and she was talking about high achievers and productivity and time blocking and kind of setting up your days and determining what your non-negotiables are. One thing she said that stuck out to me was that everything has its time. And this was a quote that she pulled from someone else. I'll link the video down below. It was a pretty good video. I didn't agree with everything that she said, but more on that soon. So everything has its time, and the point of that was like, hey, when you are working on something, like when you have decided that this time of the day is going to be for working on your goals or being with your family. Be present in that moment. Be focused on that goal. Don't be thinking about other things, about what you are going to do after this, about the work that you have coming up, about the internet. Just be focused, be present. And so I practiced that today. I did have a few wiggle moments in my chair where I was feeling antsy. I was like, oh, I've already gotten like 400 words. That should be a good day. But I was like, no, we still have like 35 minutes left on the clock, left on the timer. So I'm going to go until that 35 minutes ends. And I'm so glad I did, because I got such a huge chunk of this scene done. Like, I am almost done with it, and I should be able to finish it up tomorrow. But it just was this very solid block of creative time for me, something that just felt really fulfilling, something I could be proud of. And part of it was because I recognized that, hey, I actually don't have as much time during the day as I thought I did. I'm still learning that. I used to have a lot of time to sit and think and write and dabble and putter around, and I just don't have that time as much. And so I am feeling grateful for the time that I have. I think part of that is respecting that time, respecting myself, respecting my creative flow, and having that time in the morning be the time for writing, for creating new ideas, for generating new stories. It is not a time to worry about social media numbers, followers. It's not a time to engage with my audience. It's not a time to worry about what's going to be happening at work. It's not a time to worry about whether or not the house is clean. It is just a time, that hour and a half, even if it's just a half hour, that time is mine. It is precious. It is how I'm finding meaning in my days, how I'm giving meaning to myself. And I think that respecting that time is going to be really important. And it's not just about like, hey, respect the time and you'll be more productive. That is a plus. More than that, it is that respect the time and I will feel more like myself throughout the day. I will be a happier, more fulfilled, more patient, kind, loving person, because I put myself first in the morning. I put my creative dreams, my creative goals, my creative life first. That's the thought I wanted to leave you with today. I am headed into work for all that fun, and I will respect the time that I am here to work. My eye is twitching. It's been twitching since yesterday, which makes things very difficult. It was not twitching when I was writing this morning. It seems to only start twitching when I arrive at the office. You do with that what you will. I just finished reading A Letter to the Luminous Deep by Sylvie Cattrall, and now I desperately want the next book in this series. I think that the second book is coming out in 2025, in spring of 2025, which seems like such a long time to wait. But this is book one in the Sunken Archive series, and I believe the second book will also be an epistolary style novel with letters unfolding the events. I found this book just to be really charming, kind of a cozy fantasy feel that takes place largely underwater or on a world that is covered in water. It focuses around a single family who all live in something called the Deep House. There are two sisters and a brother. Their parents are gone. One of the sisters, E, lives in the Deep House alone. The other two are off on their own adventures, but fate brings them back together again. Additionally, fate brings a man into E's life, a natural scientist, a man who is eager to explore the oceans, and they forge a friendship and a deep bond. And when the big thing happens in this book, they are there for each other through to the end. There is a little bit of a cliffhanger, not a big one. I really felt satisfaction with this book and kind of with the way that it ended. I really enjoyed the world building, the characters, the fantasy elements, the strangeness of it, the way that it was written in letters. And it is a complete book on its own. However, I loved everything about this so much that I really just want to keep going with the world and with these characters and kind of find out what the next step is. What is happening on this planet? What has been happening in this history with this world, with these people? The tension here comes a lot from the unknown as well as from the emotional anxieties of our main characters. This book definitely has a slower pace than some of the books that are currently being published, but for me, that worked. There's an academic element to it in terms of some of these characters are scholars in this world, and there are political aspects with that, just different levels. It was just a really good time. Just a book that I didn't know that I needed. I don't even remember how this book came into my life. Nobody really recommended this to me. I haven't really been on Bookstagram or anything of late, so I don't know how this crossed my path. I do remember being absolutely struck by this cover, and when I saw that it was a novel written in letters, I knew I needed to read it, and I checked it out from the library. But I think this is going to be one that I may want for my own shelves, and I think I may end up buying it when the second book comes out, so I can have the pair of them. I don't know how many books are planned in this series. Maybe it's just 2. Right now there's just 2 posted. I don't think the second one has a cover yet. I would definitely look for more books by this author. This, I believe, is her first book, her debut. So if you are interested in cozy fantasy, academia, high seas adventures, novels written in letters, found family, and friendships, try this one out. I just finished watching this documentary called Mountain Queen. It is about a Nepalese woman. I believe her name is Lakma Sherpa. She is the woman who holds the most records for summiting Mount Everest. This documentary was really good. It was really engaged in Lakma's story and in her connection to the mountain, her connection to her history, to her past, to her family, to her daughters, to her husband, and it just kind of came at the perfect time. And I think this is a good example of why we engage with stories like this, why we tell our stories, why we listen to other people's stories, is to kind of feel that connection where we can see our lives reflected in the things they're doing. And it just really struck home with me, this woman's journey, how when she was younger, she grew up under the shadow of this mountain. She was able to summit several times in her youth. Life kind of swept her along. She had children, she got married, she moved to the United States. There were definitely some very difficult times for her, but with everything that was going on, she never forgot the mountain. She never forgot her passion for being up there. And I think what I found most inspiring about the story was her second act. Her desire never faded. And even after a long period away from the mountain, away from climbing, a period of time where she thought she would never see the mountain again, she returns. She comes back to prove to herself that she still has that strength and that power, to reconnect with that part of herself and with the mountain that she grew up with. There was just beauty in that moment. And I have just been thinking about that in terms of sometimes we can tell ourselves stories about how we tried something and we failed, or oh, I'm not doing this thing right now, so that means I'm never going to do it again. Especially for me, sometimes if I'm going long periods without writing, I'm like, well, I guess I'm not a writer anymore. I tried it, I wasn't as successful as I thought I would be, so I might as well just give up and do something else. And I think it may be more important to tell ourselves a different kind of story, a story where we have multiple chances, multiple opportunities, where we can take a break from something that is our deepest passion and then return to it and be victorious. And so I think that's where I want to leave you with for this week's vlog. It is Friday. We have spent another 2 weeks together. I abandoned my cozy goals kind of halfway through this vlog, but kind of picked up some other ones. I have been scraping away at a short story, and I've been doing some time studies and some experimentation with goals that I will be sharing with you very soon in the future. So I hope you stay tuned. But for now, I just want to leave you with some encouragement. If you are feeling like you have failed in your goal, or if you are in a place where you feel like you have spent too much time away from the things and the passions and the creative projects that you love, if you are feeling like, hey, I tried it, I didn't get anywhere, I don't see the point, I just want to encourage you to keep going, to keep holding on to the things that you love, to keep returning to your passions and the things that bring you meaning and the things that make you feel powerful and strong. And it may not happen today, it may not happen tomorrow, you may never reach a point where you feel fully satisfied, because I think that's kind of the point with chasing mountains and doing hard things and going after difficult goals, is that there is never really an end point for you. You're going to want to keep chasing, keep working hard, keep moving up that mountain for as long as you can, because that is where you feel like your most powerful self. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.